1. And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Saturday night programming, where we discuss and hear from many different people on a vast range of topics. A gentleman that I have been trying my bestest to talk to, not because of the programming tonight, but just in support for the work that he does. So I'm so pleased that Andy Price has agreed to come on to our program tonight. Andy, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Lawrence. How are you? And thanks as well.
Oh, absolute pleasure. It really is. We keep swapping messages.
Yeah, we do.
We keep swapping messages. I must get off my backside and get down to Weymouth and get a cup of tea and a cheese and potato pie, because that looked really nice.
Yeah, they're going down an absolute storm. They are good. They are good. And you have to get in quick, actually. They don't last longer than a day or two, and they're all gone.
Right. I shall remember that. Thank you. Thanks for the tip. Mm-hmm. Andy, if you could get this evening rolling, please. Just a little bit about yourself, your background.
Yeah, okay. So I'm Andy Price. I'm 43 years old. I'm father of 2. So my background, sort of mid-20s, I joined the British Army. Prior to that, actually, I was just, I wasn't going very far in life. So it's almost like one of them cliche stories about joining the military. You know, I was jumping in and out of jobs. I was getting involved in things I shouldn't have been getting involved in. There've been a couple of losses in my life. I was definitely on a downward spiral down the wrong route in life, if that resonates with anyone or makes any kind of sense. And it was almost a cliche, and I ended up joining the army because I thought it's either that or I'm going to end up in prison or I'm going to end up dead, one or the other. So let's join the army. And actually, because of the age I was at, a good friend of mine who was ex-parachute regiment suggested that I looked at the reserves first, or I think it was back then it was the TA. And the idea behind that was, he said, you're quite unruly. You're mid-20s. I don't think you could take too well to having someone tell you what to do. So before you sign your life away for 4 years, just take a look at what you're getting into. And that was 2003. And interestingly enough, I think it was 2 years after we went to Afghanistan. And, you know, I looked at it early 2003. And then towards the end of 2003, I found myself on the streets of Kabul in Afghanistan. And, you know, fast forward 6 years, I've done 3 tours of Afghanistan, twice in Helmand, once in Kabul. Helmand, incredibly volatile. I came out 2009, 2010, decided that I liked soldiering so much that I became a private military contractor. So I went back to Helmand for 3 years. I then went to Iraq for 2.5 years. I then thought I've had enough of all that. So I went to Libya, set up a mission with a team out there. That took me up to about 2017. And I came home. One marriage has already gone down the pan. You know, I'm your stereotypical cliche type soldier come contractor, you know, drinking stupidly heavy amounts, you know, just absurd amounts of alcohol, living a life that I can't sustain, you know, very chaotic, fighting, you know, like everything you've seen in the movie. I was kind of that cliche. Yeah. But without the cool tattoos or anything like that, okay, and I couldn't grow the cool beard at the time either. But everything else, I was that cliche. And you come to 2017, I'm in a relationship again. I've got a daughter, I've got a stepdaughter, and I had what can only be described as a huge breakdown following a couple of traumatic events again that led to me planning my own death. My family found out, they intervened because thankfully they like me. No, like that'd be pretty pants if he dies. So they looked after me, intervened, got me the support I needed. Eventually diagnosed with PTSD, chronic depression, chronic anxiety, and an adjustment disorder more recently as well, which it's just saying I have to live with and manage with meds and other means. And that's where the hub came from. And that's it. That's my life.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there is more to it, but I don't want to go into the presents I didn't get when I was a kid, or the girl that said no to me at school, or anything like that.
And do you know what, Andy? I am not military. I did 2 weeks finding out about the army in Blandford camp, and at the end of the 2 weeks, it was unanimously agreed by all sides that I didn't fit the army, so that was fine. But my father, my mother, and both my brothers are strong military people.
Okay.
And do you know what? Your story there, I could equate that to my family and extended family as well. It's such a commonality. Oh, yeah, my heart goes out to you, mate. Anyway, out of all that, look what you've achieved. Was it back in 2017 that you started up the idea of the hub?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So the idea of the hub, that was a concept that came about from actually my own sort of recovery, as it were, pulling me back from the brink. So during the initial stages, me having that breakdown, a very good friend of mine and godmother to my youngest daughter, actually, a US Marine that I'd been in Helmand with, and who had been alongside me in a couple of situations that sort of, anyway, volatile situations that you expect in that kind of place. Anyway, she came over when the breakdown happened. Not because of the breakdown, but I was on leave. She wanted to come and see her goddaughter and hang out with me and my partner. She ended up staying for 3 months. She gave up she was going to go to Europe for 2.5 months. She was only going to stay with us for 2 weeks. She chose to stay in our house for 3 months to support me, my partner, and my children as I went through the breakdown. And it was kind of through that journey, because support, let me backtrack a little bit. So not for any particular reason. I think it's just the amount of people that sometimes require support, the fact that we all know there's a lack of funding, say in the NHS and through other services. Trying to get help for your mental health was incredibly hard. It's not like I can walk into an A&E and you've got a physical wound that someone can see and they've got to treat it then and there. You know, you're given quite, I think, unreasonably long wait time to get the support that you may need. At one point, I was turned away from hospital. My partner wanted me to be sectioned. They had no beds, and they had no one that could deal with someone displaying the symptoms that I was displaying. So we were told to ring a crisis line. You know, another mainstream, which I won't mention any names, but you know, another mainstream charity told me I was definitely in need of help, but there was a 10-month wait list. And then they also decided I was too complex to help, so they turned me away. You know, so I ended up being in a really dark place. My partner was at her wit's end, didn't know what to do. And so this person I had served with in Helmand came across, and through just walking, talking, being around someone who understood the language, who understood where I'd been, understood the situation, you know, I kind of worked my way through it. And so it was a bit of an eye-opener because there was no clinical things there, no meds. It was just me walking and talking with someone who understood where I was coming from. You know, that I was able to talk to about things that I couldn't talk to anyone at all about who hadn't actually been in that situation.
Yeah. And
not true, because I don't think you would understand it, but it's just really sometimes hard to explain and describe. So this happened, and then, you know, inevitably the 3 months came to an end and she had to go back to America. And I remember distinctly saying to her, you know, I just don't know what to do now. You know, I've been given this label. I've lost my career because we obviously had to tell the company I was working for in Libya what had happened. And because it had gone through the NHS, I'd been diagnosed through a community mental health team. That basically destroyed my career, you know, overnight. And I remember saying to her, you know, this is going to be as big an adjustment for me as having to deal with my mental health, because I've essentially lost what I felt made me as a person. Yeah. You know, and I've lost my income. I had lost everything. So, and it was her who was saying to me, you know, because she was saying, you can't be the only person going through this. In fact, you know, ironically, you know, even though I thought I was, one of the things that led to my breakdown was 2 friends of mine from the military taking their own lives. And it just and she got me thinking about that. And she said, what I think you should do is reach out to your local community and see if there's anyone out there going through the same thing. But rather than making it like an AA meeting or a CAB meeting or something clinical, make it a bit more ad hoc, a bit more holistic. Literally, what do the guys like doing and their families? They like having a brew and just hanging around people who speak the same language. So that's what we did, and that's where the hub came from. And it was really such a simple concept. And we, myself, my partner helped me in the early stages. We basically created a little Facebook page. I did a little video about me with PTSD, which was actually not for the hub. That was my way of letting people know what was going on. I hadn't told anyone at that stage, so it was a good way for me to say to people, look, this is who you're used to seeing, but this is actually what it's like for me. This is why some of you won't be seeing me around for a while. I spoke to the local paper, the local radio station. It gathered a load of momentum through me because, I'd been a team leader overseas on used to be quite a do, given a task in, I get on and do that job. So I threw my all into it. And, probably about 2-3 months later, we had our first drop-in night on a Thursday evening. And I think we had maybe 15, 16 people through the door on the first night. In fact, when I got down to the place that I was hiring, which was the old ferry terminal in Weymouth, I was hiring that place from another organisation. I wasn't expecting anyone to be there. I was incredibly nervous. I remember my partner, she said, it doesn't matter if you get one person there, it's going to make a difference, right? So we got there and there was a queue outside. And we just went from there, really. And it did literally, did what it said on the box. So I wasn't interested in changing the whole aspect of support. I wasn't interested in any of that. I didn't really care what was going on further along the line with the mainstream charities or the government. I just wanted a place where we could go, be apolitical, and just talk and make new friends and look after each other. And that's what it was originally. I mean, as anyone who's followed the hub on Facebook, social media, or anything like that, or the local press will know that I'm not adverse to speaking my mind every now and then. I'm not adverse to ruffling a few feathers, I guess. But every time I've done that, or we've done it through the hub, it's been for a very specific reason. We've seen firsthand the damage that's been done to someone or a family or an individual. And, I feel strongly if you don't speak about what you see going wrong, nothing ever changes. And on the same hand, you have to praise everything that's happening right, So that's that, we just went from, carried on. It was really sort of interesting process seeing these different guys and girls come in. Some I recognised, some I didn't. In fact, one guy called Darren, who opened the place with me in the end when we went full time, he was him and me for about 3 or 4 months have been passing each other on a promenade near us with our dogs on a dog walk, both looking at the floor, both being really miserable. And I remember looking at him a couple of times thinking, what a miserable looking bloke, and he must have been doing the same to me. Anyway, he came on the first night. His wife made him come there. It turned out we're both from the same regiment, the Rifles, both going through exactly the same thing. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing, and he came in that first night. Then the second week, he came in with loads of cakes he had handmade by himself, which blew his wife's mind away at the time. And we took it from there, and, it became really important to all of us. We felt we were determined that we're going to make it unique, determined it was going to be led by us, determined that it was not about where you had been, what rank you had been. It wasn't anything to do with any of that. There's no kudos here. You could be absolutely anyone. You could be living on the streets, have a problem with booze and substance misuse, addiction. As long as you came in there clean on that night, you're welcome there. And we always treated like tomorrow's a new day. Today's today, tomorrow's a new day. And that's how it went. Fast forward maybe 8-9 months, and tragically, down here, just alone where I'm in Weymouth, we had 4 suicides in about 8-9 days, all of them veterans. So one of them I knew, he had actually just started coming to the hub, and that really hit me quite hard. I think I spoke to him the afternoon before he killed himself. And one of the other three I didn't know, but one of them I knew of. And he went, and I ended up through circumstances meeting his family. In fact, they came to the hub, and I sat down with his widow, his mum, his daughters, and we had a long talk. And it's one of the things that occurred to us. In the space of a week, to have like 4 suicides in 8 days, but all from the same community as well.
Yeah.
Struck us as something that, rather than brushing it on the carpet and saying, "Oh well, it's happened," what could we have done? We needed to do something proactive. So I spoke to the families. One of the daughters, I remember distinctly, she said to me, and I know she was just ruminating, but she said, if there had been somewhere my dad could have gone, because we didn't realise he was going through this, I wonder if he had people to talk to on a day-to-day basis, if it could have been different. And even though most of us know that's a bit of almost a pointless thing to wonder, because we're never going to know why someone does that to themselves.
Yeah.
There could be a million and one reasons, but it did really sort of hit home with me and Darren at the time, and we made that decision almost simultaneously on that night that we were going to make this a full-time project. And I think about 2-3 months later, our doors opened full-time in Weymouth, and then we just went from there. Lisa came on board. And I feel, even though it's a very fluid project, and we're by no means perfect, I feel very strongly that it does what it says on the box. All of the team that we have there are incredibly passionate about the project. I say service users because that's just the official terminology I have to use, but the guys and girls with their families who come to the project, they're incredibly passionate about it. And we're 4 years on now.
Yeah.
And going from strength to strength, and it's not perfect. We've had ups and downs. There's been other suicides locally. We've had people come and go. We've had people that have maybe gone too far down that road. Sort of into what I like to call the darkness. But like a few of my good friends at the hub say, you can't, as long as you're there and people know you're there, that's all that matters. They know where they've got a place to come that'll be safe for them. They've got a place where we're not going to judge anyone. And that's how it works. I've probably gone on a little bit too much there. Sorry, Lawrence.
No apologies. So much to cover on what you've just said. But yeah, as again, I know with my family's background that the Force's personality, it is such a strong family unit.
Yeah,
but
correct.
Because sometimes it's a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes, because it is such a strong family unit that people who are not Forces or not of that mindset find it hard to sort of like engage or get involved. But the strength within the Forces, you said about the lady from America. I'm not being rude, but would you get that in the Civvy Street? Probably not. Again, we can't quantify these things.
No, you can't, and you don't know. And would someone else have done that? I don't know either. That's just the way that went at that time. And I quite often say that I feel very much, even though she would hate me to say this, I very much feel that that time, in the fact that she came over here, then the fact she stayed for 3 months, I quite often say to her, you literally, for the second time, saved my life.
Yeah.
Probably without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Where she thought she was just walking and talking, but like you just said, that's a really big commitment to give up 3 months of your life just to walk with someone and talk with someone.
Yeah. And really engage with that as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely. And it is sad, that duty that you had with the wife and family of one of the chaps that committed suicide. I'm sure that they got something from that to be able to talk and express their feeling. Because like you said earlier on, mental health, mental welfare out in the community is so underfunded and so sparse and so sort of like rigid. Unless you meet this criteria and that criteria, you don't seem to get anywhere. Within the church, we have people and families that have got issues, and getting involved with them and trying to progress that through on some sort of a treatment basis, it's a minefield. It absolutely is. But this service, as you said, for your service users, I get that so much, that everybody that comes into your community cafe or into you as a service user or whatever, there's that sense of relief when they walk in, because I'm with family. I can be me. I can express what I'm talking about without feeling like you don't understand.
Interestingly enough, so the whole ethos behind that place is it's a safe place. Everyone's treated as an individual there. The only real rules we have, and are you cannot be under the influence on site.
Fair enough.
And that's just the way it is. And that isn't, that's multitude of reasons, not least the fact a lot of us do struggle with alcohol and other substances. So we just won't have that on site. It's a family environment. And also it's the fact that, I expect everyone on site, no matter what they do outside of the hub, no matter what their backgrounds are, on site, everyone treats everyone equally, and we respect each other's backgrounds and stories. Because, Lawrence, what's an issue for you may not be an issue for me. And I may even find it quite laughable, but if it's affecting you, it's affecting you. So, and that's kind of what I say to the guys and girls when you come through that doors. I don't care who you talk to outside of this place. I don't care what your status is outside the hub. When you're in here, we're all the same and we're respectful of each other. And that's kind of the way it rolls, really. What is interesting as well is the whole mental health thing. Like anything, when a professional looks at mental health, it's almost quantified. So, and there's stages in for a lot of services you go to within the NHS or others in statutory services. There's stages for your recovery, and if you don't hit certain targets at certain points in time, that service is almost pulled away from you. One would be, I think, it used to be one of the counselling services you could access through your local GP. You would get 6 sessions, maybe 8 if you were lucky. And at each session, you were expected to be at a certain stage in your recovery. So the way we look at it down the hub is, even if 3 or 4 of us are diagnosed with PTSD, actually, the reason we've got that PTSD is different from the other person stood next to me. So actually my recovery is going to be different, or I may never recover. So down at the hub, we always say we're not expecting you to get better. We would love it if you did, learn to lead some kind of a life without having to worry about your mental health. We're not expecting anything of you at all. That, and when you come down here, you can be yourself, talk freely, and be safe. And that is it, And if someone wants something more, we're linked in with enough statutory services and charities to be able to signpost people to where they need to be. But at the hub, I'm not going to expect anything from you other than you come down there and you feel like you're in a safe place, And if one day you come in and you're really messed up, or you do something stupid, maybe get arrested by the police or end up in hospital, part of our ethos there as well is that, it doesn't matter. That happened yesterday. You're welcome back tomorrow, and we just start again. And I'm not saying that works with every single case, because there does have to be a line drawn sometimes, but we're very reluctant to draw that line because we feel that everyone's got a background, everyone's got a story. And you were saying about the military side of things, and then you also said mental health as a whole is quite rife throughout the community as a whole. And interestingly, that's why there's 2 sides to our project. So when you come down to see the place, you'll see we've got a cafe, community cafe.
Yep.
Originally, that was opened as a way to, I guess, bankroll the place to an extent.
Yeah.
And then one day we're all sat around talking, and we had so many different people coming in from different backgrounds saying, I don't know, I've lost my job, I'm living in poverty, I can't afford to put food on the table for my kids, I'm struggling with my mental health, my marriage, whatever it was. People were just coming in. So as a one, we decided to make sure the hub was accessible to all. We treat everyone the same. In the military, we're there to help support people. So we said, right, everyone can come in here. This would be a safe place for all. Okay. So we are a true community project. And there was a bit of a reason for me also sort of saying to all the guys and girls, you're right with that as well, because you also said, I think the military is quite a unique environment. We're quite close at times. Well, me and the lads, none of us are in the military now, so we also need to learn how to be civilians again. Okay, and the only way that's going to happen is we have a project that incorporates us all. So that's what we do there. We do have private areas just for veterans and their families, but the core part of the hub is actually the coffee shop, the community cafe, the place where people just sit around, talk, have a brew, play a board game, whatever, and that's open to absolutely everyone.
That brings in a question here from Sue Townsend, and she's just saying there, services build people up. How is required for the jobs they are deployed to undertake? She's asking, when it becomes time to leave, is there any sort of like a program to wind down trained personnel to prepare them for life outside the services?
Hi, Sue. That's a really interesting question, because depending on who you talk to, it'll depend on the answer you get. And I laugh because, yes, there is a kind of transition period, for coming out of the armed forces. It takes up to a year, I believe. There's you get something called learning credits you can put towards courses and everything like that. But a lot of us feel that where this fails is, what's the best way to explain this? So I joined the infantry, okay? So for me to be good at my job, I went through all my basic training, then my phase 2 training. I learned all the skills of being an infantry, okay? And that involves being aggressive, hyper-vigilant. I'm relying on a very small group of people. And also part of the military culture is drinking, okay? Mm-hmm. It's just top every drink. We when we were in the military, we were, a common saying is we're the fittest and most motivated alcoholics you're ever going to find. All right. But it's weird because, they teach you to be hyper-vigilant. They teach you to be aggressive. They teach you to be mistrustful in some areas. They teach you to drink heavily. They teach you to self-medicate with drink. They teach you to actually look down upon people on in the same sort of environment as yourself. Okay. Now, if you came up to me, Sue or Lawrence, outside of the military, and you said to me, every single day I drink, a couple of bottles of wine or a bottle of whiskey, I'm hyper vigilant, I don't trust anyone, I fight every single time I go out. I always have to sit with my back to the wall. I have to check for exit points everywhere I go. Everything like I would say, you've got an issue going on, Lawrence or Sue. Maybe we should think about talking to someone about this, because that's almost by definition a mental health problem. Okay. But in the military, we're taught to be like that. And the problem is, even though there is a leaving package when you leave the armed services, like I say, you can do courses, you can go get advice on jobs, housing, etc. In fact, what they don't teach you to do is not be all of them things I've just talked about there. Yeah. They don't teach you how to switch that side of it off. And even though they are trying to change, there's also, again, there's lines in the sand. So I don't think they're fluid enough, they're flexible enough. I know people that are medically discharged, 14 years in, 18 years in. We've got a lad who comes down the hub, 14 years in, suddenly diagnosed with PTSD and bipolar, and boom, he was gone a few months later. Never lived outside in Civvy Street in his life with no support whatsoever, handed over to the NHS. So there is a wind down program, but I think that wind down program, as you've referred to it, is geared up to support those that are possibly mentally and physically able to just move on with their lives. Anyone who isn't geared up towards that, anyone who has no experience of civilian life, or has a physical or mental health injury, is going to struggle massively, which is why we see so many fall to the wayside. I think in the past, 6 to 8 weeks alone, there's been 12 deaths from my old battalion, all suicides. Mm-hmm. The prison system, this is just a side note here, just for your interest, but it does kind of relate to this prison system. 8% of the prison system is made up by armed forces veterans. Most of them, I think, would be down to fighting, GBH, that kind of thing, drink, alcohol-related crimes. They make it 8% of the prison population, but we only make up 3% of the population as a whole. So actually, that's a really high number.
Yeah.
And again, that's because when they come out, there's no direction. They haven't got adequate support in place, and you're kind of just expected to just get on with it, like we would be in the military. But civilian street's totally different to the military, And then you've got this other thing, which a good friend of mine, Tony's always saying is, we're also taught to deal with things ourselves. So even if we're struggling, we find it really hard to actually say, can we have support? Because it's been drummed into us to, one, it's a sign of weakness, and two, we're just expected to get on with it. And I do talks at GP surgeries, or did do in the past, and I used to say to him, one of the big issues is when you get an armed forces veteran come through the door, if he says to you he feels like he's going to kill himself or harm himself or just disappear, actually you're the last port of call. So that means he's going to do it, within a short time frame. Whereas, so saying like in 10 to 12 weeks we'll be able to get you into therapy, actually that's it, he's gone. Whereas some, and I'm not saying this is for everyone, I am being a bit generalised here, I don't mean to be, but then a civilian walks into a GP's and says, I lost my job, or my relationship has broke down, and I've just got all these weird feelings going on, I don't know how to deal with it. Not every time, so please don't think I'm belittling anyone. This is just sort of I'm just trying to give a bit of a oversight. If the GP said to you, brilliant, okay, we're going to put you on these meds. In 10 weeks, you can see a therapist. In the meantime, call us. You're more than likely going to be able to wait that amount of time, unless you really do hit crisis point, or because that's going to be your first port call because you're a civilian and it's okay to go to the GPs to say that.
Yeah.
Whereas when a veteran goes, it's our very last port of call. So if we say we need help, we do actually need help. Sorry, Sue, I went right off on the tangent then, but in short, there is a wind down service, but it depends on who you are and what you've got going on as to whether or not it's going to work or not. If you're geared up and you're positive and you've got no mental health, physical traumas, you've got experience of civil life, you've got a good family behind you, that's going to work, especially if you've got direction. But a lot of the guys, girls don't have any kind of direction. They've not planned for this because we're not taught to plan for that. You just think you're going to be in the military for the rest of your life. So that's it.
Yeah, totally get that. And that is such an important message as well to get out there to the GPs to say, listen, if you get a military person saying that, again, no offense to civilian population at all, but we do hear these cries for help that never actually manifest in action. But that if somebody with your background and that training say that, it's not an idle, empty thing. It is that, like you quite rightly said, that last port of call. How sad is that?
Yeah.
Phil Shaw. Try again. Phil Shaw. And he's just asking, do you have any alternative therapies like spiritual Reiki healing, therapeutic massage, meditation? Do you have any of those available at the hub?
Hi, Phil. And so we're kind of really the whole approach is holistic down there. Okay, so if you were able to come down to the hub, Phil, and see it, we have, like I said, the community cafe, and beyond that, we have what we call our private therapeutic areas, and they comprise of like purpose-built allotments that are disabled friendly, purpose-built gym, a sensory garden, a quiet area, and a quiet room / like reading room. And that's just because sometimes people need quiet time out or whatever. But in answer to your question there, and the reason I'm telling you about them areas is we're linked in with an organisation called Healing Hands. Okay. So they come down. Well, throughout the whole lockdown period, we haven't seen them for the obvious reasons. But they started up again last week. So they do things like natural healing, Reiki, Indian head massages. I think we've got some kind of it's like some sort of kind of meditation going on soon. So yeah, we've got lots of things like that going on down there. We also have circuit sessions. We carry out talks. We're linked in with the horse course, so we do equine intervention therapy. Just about anything that someone says works, we will give it a shot. If it works for the individual, it works for us. And within the hub itself, we try to keep it as we don't really want it to become a clinical environment. This isn't about sitting around, being told what to do or have to take meds and stuff. We love things like Reiki, spiritual healing, Indian head massages, energy stones. We've got a lady, I don't know what it is she does. It's like it's like black magic to me, but she waves her hands above you with a stone under your body, and you just feel a lot better. It's amazing.
So it probably is magic.
In answer to that, Bill, yes, we do, mate. And if there were any practitioners who were obviously qualified, because that's one thing we have to be. It's not something I like having to do, but because I always sound like I'm being a bit picky when I do it. But because of the nature of the beast where we are and the people that come in, if there are any practitioners who can show me their qualifications and they want to come down and offer their support, then they'd be more than welcome.
And quite right, and we do exactly the same in the church. Anybody coming in here practicing any healing modality, we need a qualification. There's a lady here who I'm not familiar with, but I get a funny feeling you may know her.
She's a lunatic. We banned her from the hub ages ago.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Okay then.
Lisa, I'm going to get hold of the police again if you carry on with this. No, sorry, that's the one. Tai Chi Q. Yeah, so Lisa Roshbury Williams runs the hub with me. She's like my right-hand man, woman. We just support each other. In fact, interestingly, this is just so you've all got a bit of background on Lisa. Her father was a bit of a legend in the Navy before he passed away. He was an Arctic explorer, actually. And the reason she's become involved with the hub was she came down to one of the drop-in nights. She's like a veterinary nurse, and she came along, or a trainee veterinary nurse, and she came along, and as part of her course, she had to do like a paper on how support dogs help people. She came to talk to one of the lads, Darren, who set the project up with me as well. He had a dog, and she came along to talk to him, and she just never left. And she actually gave up her full-time job. She was so passionate about what we did, and so passionate about helping people. She gave up her full-time job to come and work for us for 10 months for free as a director. Wow. She's been there ever since. Yeah, she's an amazing, amazing woman, an amazing individual.
Off to you, Lisa.
Yeah.
And she's obviously still working, even though it is 20 to 8 on a Saturday evening. I am still working. So anybody out there in need of a sports massage therapist, thank you, Lisa. And bless you. That's a great story. Thank you. That is so wonderful.
Yeah, amazing.
Absolutely. Currently, you've got a fundraiser on the go. I've posted the link in the comments box there for anybody if they wish to donate for a holiday home.
Yeah, Thailand.
Yeah, I'll go halves with you. I'll do half the funding and join you.
That's a bit of an in-house joke. That one.
Okay.
Let's just go. Sorry, but yeah, no. No, do you know? So we set that up some time ago, and we're actually going to increase the amount and just keep it running. I think you can have like a direct debit or standing order set up with it, because we have a lot of guys and girls from across the country come to visit. We also have a lot of veterans and their family members who are on incredibly low incomes. Literally, you could almost say that, they are living in poverty as such. So, so the idea was to pick up some kind of holiday home somewhere it'd be twofold. So it would be on hand for our guys and girls to utilise for them and their families whenever they needed a break, at a minimal cost, if any cost. It all depends on whether or not they can afford it. But it also, when it's not booked out, be a way for us to create an income stream. We could let it out to people from other parts of the country.
Yeah.
And the reason we're going to increase the amount, actually, the more I think about it, at first I thought, well, we're in Weymouth, so we've got like 3 or 4 haven sites. But one of the things, that we really sort of crave, I think, is peace and quiet. Yeah. We absolutely crave it. I know I do, and I know when you speak to a lot of the guys and girls, they're like, my ideal destination would just be somewhere where there's nothing, no one, quiet trees, lakes. So it sounds greedy, but we're just going to keep that running now in the hopes that we can pick up something somewhere a bit more secluded, like a cabin or something, and then that would become a respite place, basically a respite holiday home for those that need it.
Yeah.
But also somewhere to use, as an extra income stream, or if we have we often have visitors. So it's a threefold thing, but that's what we want it for, because you speak to some of the guys and girls, and they just, their life is just their house and try and survive. And to be able to say to someone, for like £5 a night, or for free, just take you, your kids, your partner away for a week. And it may only be local, but it still feels like you're away when you're on the site, doesn't it? So that's what that's for.
Makes absolutely huge impact just to get people out of that environment, even for that short time, and being able to get out of the environment as well. Absolutely massive.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing very well on the fundraising for that.
I think we are.
Share that at the moment. So, yeah.
No, I mean, I make lots of jokes, but that's, it's amazing. And that word, I know that would get us something on a little seaside, but it's something in my head. I always just want to say, right, let's just get this right for the guys.
Yeah.
Make it accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
There's a lot. The funny thing about mental health as well, there's so many guys and girls we support that without having to teach them and suck eggs, because I guess we all understand the realities of warfare and everything. We've all seen the movies and read the books, but there's so many guys and girls that just can't be around noise. They can't be around screaming kids. They can't be around loud music. That jump even when a door slams shut. So that's kind of the reason I'm saying I'm looking. That's what that fundraising page is for, to find somewhere secluded that we can buy and just have for the guys and girls that need it, so they can just get away and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah, absolutely admirable. Brilliant. I also was reading you delivering 500 meals, hot meals a week.
No, we're not. No,
you're not.
No, we did. That's Deliveroo. No, we did. Sorry.
Maybe.
No.
Okay.
So we don't do it anymore. This was during the. Sorry, Lawrence. During the first lockdown period, which I think lasted about 12 weeks. We delivered something like 10,500. Lisa may correct me, but about 10,500 hot meals that were all homemade, just to anyone in the community that needed them. And I think we delivered about 1,000 welfare parcels, thanks to like one of the local supermarkets. Gave us stuff every single week. Other people bought things and to donate, and they're quite bespoke parcels. If we knew it was a family of four that couldn't afford shopping, we made sure it suited a family of four. If it's a family of two or whatever it was. So we did that over the first 12-week period. It was actually the what was staggering was what was the hot meals that were done. Lisa took charge of that. And we basically had this crazy Sikh dude called Karlinda, who just wants to save the world, turn up at the hub. And he said, he said the everything's really bad. A lot of people are going to be suffering. This was in day 1 or 2 of the lockdown. And we were already trying to think of how we would adjust as a service, because we were just basically, all of our guys and girls had just been told they couldn't leave their houses for 12 weeks at least. So we were like, how do we make sure that they don't all go under? So can you imagine, Lawrence, I'm going to digress here, all these guys and girls that are living with mental health problems, living with suicidal thoughts every day, suddenly told they've just got to stay in their houses for 12 weeks and see no one. Me and Lisa, we had a bit of a crisis meeting, and the one thing that we were terrified of was we're going to lose some of these guys and girls now. In fact, I think I said to the team as a whole, I personally, being the ever optimist, I fully expect to lose at least 1 or 2 people throughout this 12-week period. And that kind of, and thankfully, we didn't, but that galvanized us to just turn the project totally upside down, shut it to the public, make it a staging post for support. effectively because it's like being on ops overseas. We worked around the clock. We worked in shifts, and one of the things was, the shopping deliveries were a no-brainer. We said we're going to get this done, and we turned that around in about 3 days flat, from flash to bang. We had a list of people that needed shopping, and we started making it happen. It wasn't just me and Lisa. We had a team of guys coming in, and the other thing then was the food. Because then it was a case of when this guy Kalinda turned up and said, "Can I help in any way?" We thought it'd be really nice just to give anyone in the community something nice, like a fresh meal. And he turned up. We sourced a pub where we could do the cooking. We sourced the ingredients. He cooked. We delivered, and about 10,500 meals over a 12-week period were delivered.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely. And this is where the forces energies really comes to the fore, doesn't it? Because this is part and parcel of the training, that you respond, you react, and you get things done. And
that was it. The interesting thing was, and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Lawrence.
No, that's fine.
The interesting thing was, it almost galvanised some of the guys and gals. Some of them, the guys we've got there, who maybe on a daily basis just come in and have coffee, sit there, talk, then go home. They were galvanised. They were working because it was like that. We had a clear direction. We knew kind of what our mission statement was. Okay. We had a clear command structure. We knew what was going to be happening on any given day to an extent, and that's how it works. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I'd been closer. I would have loved that. Because that time brought out in people, it was the fight or flee energy, very much so.
I think all the bad things that have happened, the obviously bad things, deaths of families, whatever. The flip side of all of this past year is it's brought communities together, and it's been really good to see.
Yeah,
really good.
I agree totally there, because there was a phrase I kept seeing in some of your write-ups, and I absolutely love it. And you're saying that veterans and families are not alone, and I love that. I love that statement, because it is not just, we're not looking at a person going down a path and enduring everything that path is bringing to them. That is also going out into the family unit as well. The wives, the husbands, the children, the parents have all got to shoulder and bear part of that journey as well.
Yeah, of course they have. Arguably, and maybe some people are going to disagree with me here, but arguably I'd say, if it's someone like myself who's got a diagnosed mental health problem, actually the families, our children, probably get it worse than what I do. Okay, because I know what's going on in my head. Well, I know I wouldn't be on meds if I knew, but I know there's symptoms to what I have. I know I'm going to react a certain way. I know that sometimes I'm going to shut down completely and not want to leave this room I'm in, or the sofa, or whatever that is. But for those looking from the outside in, so your partners, your spouses, your kids, your grandparents, your parents, whatever, who aren't going through that, or just seeing you crumbling away, it's terrifying for them. And the stresses and strains it puts upon their lives is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm just sadly going through a second breakup now of a family unit. But like my partner was saying, she spends 2-3 years at least, and we're talking at least maybe 4 or 5 years, every night wondering, is he going to be here in the morning? What's he going to do tonight? And that's just got to be a huge strain upon someone. And that's the same for anyone across the board. And I think to an extent, most people that struggle with mental health, especially if it's a complex mental health disorder, are going to get what I'm saying there. That it's terrible for us, woe is me. I'm going to be on meds for God knows how long. Do I know if I'm going to be here next year? Who knows? And that kind of thing. But for those looking in from the outside who love and care about us, who are basically helpless, in this, it's arguably a lot worse. So that's why we include the families, the children. We do everything we can. Every service that we offer to an armed forces veteran, we offer to them as well, and probably extra to them, because we understand, how hard it is for them to keep going.
That is absolutely amazing. I am just so much in awe. I really am. And I really wish I lived closer so I could do something.
Oh, wait. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, a lot of lovely comments coming in. Sue Townsend's just asked a question. And she's just asking, there's a great deal of focus based on honouring those that have passed in wars and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But from the conversation tonight, there's less emphasis or less assistance being given to the people that are here now. What's your thoughts on that, if any?
Yeah, she's right. Obviously, she is right. Every year we remember our dead, don't we?
Yeah.
So, but that's a really hard one, because the big argument by people like myself and peers of mine, other people run other organisations, or the guys that come into the hub. Big argument is there's not enough support out there for us. We're almost like the forgotten injuries. You don't see a memorial every single year to the X amount that have taken their own lives. We don't see a memorial every year to the X amount that have been injured and ended up, desolate living on the streets of England or whatever that is. So we don't see that, and it really does make us incredibly angry and upset at times. However, on the flip side, we in the military, especially those of us who have deployed and not taken away from anyone who hasn't, but those of us who have lost colleagues on operations, to remember our dead is incredibly important to us. It's one of them funny situations, isn't it?
Yeah.
I guess a way of answering that is, nowadays when we go to Remembrance Day, November the 11th, and we're there at the cenotaphs, I don't just remember those that have passed now. I remember those that are struggling and those that have lost their lives outside of conflict as well. But that's just myself, and I think a few of the guys probably do that as well. So it's all encompassing. It isn't just about those who've died on the battlefield, because arguably, if you've been to war and you come home and you can't deal with whatever's going on in your head, that's what's killed you. In fact, I said that once. I said to one of my therapists that I was speaking to, I said to her, I feel like I was killed in Afghanistan, and what I'm doing now is just marking time. And that is it. So, yeah, that is it. A bit depressing, I know. Apologies, Sue.
Yes, it is sad. It is depressing, but it's real life. We can't live a life full of buttercups and daisies and everything pink and fluffy. There is a very gritty side to life.
Mm-hmm.
And only by talking about it and hearing about it is where we can start understanding. I've noticed where I live, we got the entrance to Poole Park, and on the 11th, they have a big memorial service in there. But I've noticed myself over the last 10 years, the age group of people going in there with visible disabilities has got younger and younger and younger. And you can also guarantee that for every one that you see with a visible disability, there's probably another two with one that you can't see.
Absolutely. We've just done, we're in 2021, we're only, even now we've still got British troops in Afghanistan, but it's almost 2 decades of constant conflict in one shape or form or the other, whether you're Iraq, Africa, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, wherever that is. It's almost 2 days of linked conflict as well. That's why the Americans called it the War on Terror, didn't they?
Yeah.
So almost 2 decades of warfare, and whatever your feelings are on that, pro this conflict, not pro, whatever your feelings, the fact is that's what we've done. And whatever side of the line you've stood on, whether you're a civilian or someone who, an actual sort of indigenous population of that country, whether you're myself, like a foreign soldier coming into it, these conflicts have had a massive effect upon everyone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There wasn't one operation I did where we didn't see quite a huge number of casualties in some places. So if you take that over a 20-year period, I'm not surprised you're seeing that, and I think we're going to see more of that, sadly.
Yes, it is. It's sort of like hidden, isn't it? It's not visible, but it's not until you get an event like that where you get the whole groupings coming together. You just have to think, wow, hold on, where's all this come from? Andy, you have really, really made an impression tonight. Definitely on me, and I know with the people watching and the people that will watch on catch up later on and also listen to the podcast. You've been absolutely amazing. So inspiring.
Just quickly, and thank you as well. I really appreciate it. And everyone who's watching and listening. The other thing just to bear in mind, get away from all the depression stuff. If you are in Weymouth, Portland, or even in Dorset, I mean, we get people visiting from all over now. And we've actually, another thing, a testament to the holistic approach, quickly, Lawrence, if I may say so, I think we've had 1, 2, 3 sets of people move to Weymouth now, specifically so they can engage with this project.
Wow.
Which is, one guy went on the housing register about a year ago and he got moved down here just because he wants to come to this project. So that's something. But also, on a lighter note, the food we make is amazing. The milkshakes are absolutely amazing. They're mind-blowing. They're not like your McDonald's or Burger King standards. These are good handmade, handmade burgers, sausage rolls, cakes. There's a reason we've got the waistline we have in the hub, and it's not because it's because we like cakes and burgers.
Actually, are you not supplying burgers to a pub up the other side of Weymouth?
Yeah, we are. We had the Belvedere Inn got hold of us, Lynn McKenzie, who took it over, and she said, would, and it's a great pub actually. And she just said, I'm going to get the kitchen up and running again properly. But she wanted to make it like sort of just classic quick bar food, and she said, do you want to make the burgers? And it was good, and that's kind of taken off. And then we've had there's some kind of scouting event tomorrow, and the reason you saw me running in here and sitting down and eating my chips earlier on was because we just made 200 burgers for that event as well. Brilliant. So that's taken off as well. It's really good.
That is. And do you know what? I think very, very strongly that one of the effects of coming out of this COVID time that we've experienced is the sense of community and pulling together. It's just going to be so much stronger.
Yeah, it is. I genuinely, sincerely, on my heart, hope that continues.
Definitely,
because we found something during that time that struck me, even though obviously I may look old, but I wasn't alive during the World War II. But it struck me being that kind of that wartime England, London spirit. Everyone came together, everyone was checking on their neighbours, that kind of thing. And it was just, for me, it was a really good thing to see happening.
Yeah.
And I hope we kind of maintain that momentum to an extent.
Definitely. Because we went through that time and we all had our mortality challenge, and that was something the big percentage of the population had never even considered.
Yeah.
And suddenly we were living in this world where tomorrow morning I could wake up with a cough.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Have I got a minute just to say one more thing?
Yes, please do.
This is really, really important, actually. So you're talking about COVID. So we're a CIC, the Veterans Hub, and that's basically means we're a limited company by guarantee, but it's a community interest company. So we're not profit making. We can access grants, etc. And but the beauty of that is, and the reason I wanted that was because I'm really kind of like, I'm a control freak. Okay. I've got a little bit of OCD, and I'm like, I want no one else telling me what to do. This is going to be my train set to start off with when we went full time. But as we've moved on, different people have come along and they've got a lot of interest in the project, and they really passionate people that really are passionate about seeing the project not fail. Because the big thing for us is always finding funding streams. Okay. And every now and then, guys and girls will come to us, say, look, why don't you apply for charity status? And I would say, look, if we become a charity, we're going to have trustees, and then we're going to be governed by the Charities Commission. And what happens then is, I tell one of the trustees to F off in a fit of rage, and before you know it, I'm sacked. I've lost a project. And the other thing with the Charities Commission is due process. So if you came to me, Lawrence, and said, Andy, I can't pay my rent this week because I lost my job. If me and Lisa have got the money there and we know you're genuine, we'll just pay your rent for you then and there. But if you're a charity, just for transparency, really, and I fully understand it, the process is a lot longer. You could say, I can't pay my rent next week, but it could take up to 3 or 4 months for that charity to get permission to release some money to help you with that. So we also wanted to be an immediate support project. However, I digress. So what happened was these guys keep coming to me. A wonderful chap called Dave Ellis, who was part of the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment, came to me one day, and he said, I really think you need to have a charity arm. And he really understood the project, and he understood all of my fears about trustees and everything. He said, so why don't you allow me, as in David, to set up a charity that supports the Veterans Hub but doesn't have oversight of the Veterans Hub. So basically, you and Lisa maintain control of the hub. Okay, but what we will do, you and Lisa can worry about the day-to-day running of the hub and also covering the overhead. And what we'll do, we'll worry about fundraising and finding you money to do the things that really matter to you. But it kind of frees me and Lisa up to do what we actually want to do, as in look after the guys and make the project work. And they do the legwork for the fundraising and stuff like that. And we sat down, we talked about it, and Dave was such a personable guy, so passionate about it. And I immediately warmed to him. We got on unbelievably well, to the point where I kind of I hadn't known him that long, but I was like, you're someone that I really like and trust 100%, and he reassured me along the way, all of the way as well. And then we talked about trustees. We took on a board of trustees, and they're all like-minded individuals, people that I have 100% confidence in, and that I believe understand the projects and what we want to be doing and what we don't want to be. So anyway, they went through this whole process, all led by Dave, of registering the charity, coming up with a mission statement, goals, aims. And sadly, back in March, he caught COVID in the first wave and passed away very quickly. And, it was devastating for everyone involved. He was well known and well loved in Weymouth, devastating for his family. And we could have stumbled at that point, but we suggested to the trustees that they just, in sort of honour of Dave, just carry on and try to get this charity registered and see if we could take it on from there. And it's about 3-4 months ago, it actually became a realisation. It was realised and it's registered. It's a David Ellis charity now. So right. What the Veterans Hub is, so they've gone live. They're in the very early stages of everything. But that's up and running now as a charity arm to support what we do.
That's brilliant.
And it's also in kind of honour of this guy who was incredibly passionate. We can't bring him back, and we can't change the fact that he went like he did. But like we said to his wife and his daughters and his grandkids, there's could be some kind of legacy here if we make this work.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that's what matters. So I just wanted to say that because you've covered so much there, Lawrence, and I thought, the charity side of it is really important as well.
Yeah, no, full deference. And I know from my experience of looking at setting up charity status here at the church, it's hard work. It is not easy.
Yeah.
It is a labour of love.
Yeah, Andy, I agree.
So Lawrence, you have a busy day tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're up at Northfort. No, you're
not. No. We've got
the island.
No, that is Lisa and a lot of the guys and girls. I'm going to be going with the charity side of things to the Mayor's Picnic at Sandsford Castle.
Lovely.
Yes.
You have a wonderful picnic, and thank you for sharing tonight because that was just awesome. I love people just get in there and get things done.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Thank you, Lawrence. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
Good. I will send you the link to the
Yeah.
YouTube video to share around, and I'll create the podcast and send that over to you as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful rest of the Saturday night. Stay safe, stay sane, and look after yourselves.
Take care, everyone. All right. Good night.